Hello, Toy Collector fans! Universal Toy Collector here, and welcome to the channel. And welcome to another episode of My Collecting Life, the series where I get to speak with you, members of the toy collecting community, about your own personal collections, finding out what got you into collecting in the first place, and what gives you that toy collecting buzz. My little pony, skinny and bony. Alright, you lot. So who's the guest on this week's episode then? Well, why don't we find out? Let's take a look at some of his collection in a musical montage. Start the fans, please. Okay then, so wow, what a collection, and it's all Star Wars, and there's some bits and bobs in there that are complete blasts from the past, and we'll get to that bit in a minute. It is an absolute pleasure to welcome to the channel for the first time Martyn from a long time ago. Hello sir, how are you?
Hi Stu, thanks so much for inviting me on. Thanks. I've been watching a lot of your videos, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. It's
Cool.
be great.
Thank you. So yeah, it's good to have you on the channel. It's good to actually finally chat. I know we've messaged a couple of times, and you were lucky enough to be in Florida at the time, so I'm not jealous at all much. But yeah, awesome stuff.
Yeah, no, it was great. Yeah, it was fantastic. Thanks.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd heard a rumor from one of the cast members that they were going to release a a limited edition astromech droid, as part of the
Oh, okay.
droid factory.
Yeah.
So I was all excited to pick up, a few of those, and I thought, well, I'd ask a few people who I thought might collect them if they wanted any. And obviously, I got in touch with you, but unfortunately, the rumors didn't prove to be true. So
no, that's not a problem, mate. That's not a problem. So anyway, we're talking behind the off in the green room, and so you roughly know the basis and the concept of the series. So I've got 10 questions for you, all about you and your collection. So run time roughly about an hour. If we go over, not a problem at all. So are we ready for the first question?
Absolutely, fire away.
Awesome. Right, what toy lines did you have as a child, and what are your memories of those toy lines?
Well, I was born in 1978, and I think that's pretty much a prime year to be born. So you were a child in the 80s, and I obviously, we'll get to Star Wars, is a big part of my life as a child, but I did enjoy a lot of other toy lines when I was a kid. And I think like a lot of people, I have early memories of He-Man and the A-Team and Transformers and do you remember Zoids? I don't know why, but Zoids was a fantastic toy line, and I think a bit later on, Micro Machines was something I got quite into. But primarily, my earliest memories are of Christmas morning, sitting there opening a box and having Star Wars figures, primarily Return the Jedi, because I would have been the right age, I think, when Return the Jedi came out to actually start playing and collecting toys. So they would be my main memories of toys, really, growing up as a kid.
Awesome. I totally forgot about Zoids. As soon as you mentioned it, I was like, wow, I remember those, because they're like kind of like robots, weren't they? And you had like the really tiny pilots that used to go into them.
That's
and you
right.
used to be able to wind them up, and they used to be able to walk, didn't they? And all that kind of stuff. It's like,
that's right. Yeah, I mean, they were. Yeah, no. Funnily enough, I went down a rabbit hole a few months ago, and they actually are, you can get them on eBay, and they're not mega expensive, but they're just. I mean, one thing you probably hear a lot on this series is the word nostalgia, and as soon as I see or remember stuff like that, I'm straight on to Google to try and find what I can find about that sort of thing. And I mean, as I say, the 80s just seemed like such a prime time to be a kid. There was just so much to take your attention. One minute you had your He-Man figures out, the next minute you had your Star Wars figures out. I was a bit too old for Turtles, I think, when that came out. But that
was the 90s. That was the late 80s, early 90s.
Late 80s, I was kind of. I still had my toys, but I think by the late 80s it was as it is now, just Star Wars pretty much. But the early years, they were a great time, and I have a lot of fond memories of
absolutely. Saturday mornings, getting up watching the TV, and you've got like the Transformers cartoons or the He-Man Master Universe. Even after school day, you get back home for about like 3:15, and you used to have the TV series on. Were you ever into those at all?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Transformers. I think I've got the DVD box set when they released that somewhere behind me. Just to sort of again the nostalgia side of things. It was the Energon cube, and it was funny because it was the same plot every week, but it didn't matter. It was absolutely fantastic, and I couldn't wait. And I think He-Man, although I don't collect He-Man, it does hold a special place in my heart as a child. I just remember loving that series. Oh, Dungeons and Dragons was another one.
Oh, it's another one as well. Yeah, God.
Yeah, I don't remember what year that came out. Maybe mid 80s, maybe late 80s. I can't honestly remember. But again, I just like you just said, you sit down on a Saturday morning when they'd have the all morning show on the BBC or the ITV, and they'd sometimes show it in two parts, wouldn't they? And I mean, you'd be sit down viewing. I couldn't wait. Oh, Muppet Babies as well.
Muppet Babies.
To go off toy collecting for a second, that was another one that I do remember.
No, but that's it though. That's the thing. It's just all about those memories with those. I mean, crikey, you Muppet Babies. Then I suppose you had the Smurfs, didn't you, on a morning? And then what was it? The
Fraggle Rock, you know. I mean, I could go on. I could go on for hours and hours. You know.
Yeah.
But you know,
Wow.
like I don't know about yourself, but you know, during the 80s as well, you know, you obviously had the cartoons and the films, but there was also, you know, the more the sort of the 18 certificate films, you know, like Terminator and things, which you should totally not have been watching, you know, in the late 80s. But of course, you know, parents weren't about, you slip that on, you know, and you'd be watching films that you shouldn't do. And there were so many, you know, 80s fantasy sci-fi movies that just bring back so many memories. And to this day, you know, if they'd have brought toy lines out for those, you know, as an adult, I think I would have, you know, for nostalgia regions, gone, you know, out and picked some of those up, because I mean, I don't know if you remember V.
Oh God! Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. That was superb. The miniseries was awesome, wasn't it? Absolutely awesome.
Series. I mean, I have really early memories of being at my grandparents, and they put it on at 11 o'clock at night on ITV, if I remember correctly.
That's it.
I can't be more than 5, 6, something like that, maybe even a bit younger. And I sat up and I begged my mum, wake me up when V starts. You know, I'll go to bed early tonight, but please wake me up. And of course, she woke me up, and I sat in front of the TV, and it came on, and within 3 minutes I was asleep. But you know, it sparked that, you know, love of that show. And again, it's another thing, as soon as it was released on DVD, and you know, of course, the sets don't hold up, and
no, it hasn't aged well, to be honest with you. But
no, but again, nostalgia, it was such a big part of my childhood.
God,
and
that was so cool. The theme tune to that as well. I love the theme to that as well. It's a really weird theme tune, wasn't it, to that, especially the miniseries. But
did they ever bring toy line out for that? I don't know. I don't
see. That's the question. I don't know. I don't know, because when you're actually watching the miniseries, you do see Mike Donovan's kid actually playing with one of the shuttles and a few of the 5POA figures.
Absolutely, so, yeah.
I've never seen them released. I've never seen them. Never seen them. And that'd be. Oh yeah. But
what's the great toy line. What's the company that does? I'm rubbish with names. The company that at the moment that's doing all of the retro figures, sort of 5-point.
It's Super 7. It's the reaction ones, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I wonder if they've ever brought out a line. I'll right. That's I'm going to write that down. That's something to do after we come off the podcast.
But that was such a cool TV. And then you had the series, didn't you? Because after the miniseries had ended, you think, oh, it's all gone. It's all sort of like ended. And then I think it was a year later they came back with like a TV series and stuff like that. But they left you on a right cliffhanger, because they never followed it up. It just ended with the Star Child going off in that shuttle to meet the Supreme Leader, and then you didn't see anything else after that.
Yeah, did they not? They brought out another mini series at the end called The Final Battle, I think, didn't they? There was another 3-part.
You had V the mini series, so I think it was like I think it was a 3-part mini series, and then you had V the Final Battle, and then after that you had I think it must have been about a 24 episode series and stuff like that, where it's about a year later, and like Diana escapes and stuff like that, and then they all come back and they sort of like they manage to get immune to the poison dust and stuff like that. It wears off and whatnot, but God.
Yeah, do you remember the scene where she gives birth to the alien? They have to give a cesarean. I mean, to this day, at 44 years old, that still freaks me out. That scene.
That was an ugly baby, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was pretty messed up. You know, that was pretty. Messed
I
up
just remember making that noise when it was coming out, and then it sort of like dies and stuff like that, and it's just like, oh man, that was heavy going. It's like, not too keen on that, but what a series! Wow, thanks for that. Yeah. So you were saying that you were born roughly around and in time to go and see Return of the Jedi. Did you go to the pictures to see that? What was your memories of that, going to the pictures?
Yeah, I did. Just a brief history. My uncle's probably to blame for all of this, but when I'd go to visit my grandparents, my uncle is a bit younger. Is only 10 years older than me, so he was, you know, a teenager when I'd go over there, and he'd take me to the video store, and we'd rent Empire Strikes Back every single week that I was there on a Saturday, to the point where on my birthday, he actually just bought me the video. And I don't know if you remember in the 80s, but they were quite expensive to buy ex-rental VHS tapes back then. You know, he was just sick to death of watching it every single week when I'd go over there. And he then proceeded to take me to see Return of the Jedi at the cinema.
Wow.
At the local cinema. And I don't really remember too much about it. I remember the Battle of Endor. I remember Scout Walkers. You know, I remember the Ewoks getting blown up. You know, I remember little snippets like that. I don't remember too much more, but yeah, I was old enough to actually experience Return of the Jedi at cinema. And then, of course, you know, it was fantastic in '97 when we got to, for the first time. Well, I got to the first time to see all three of them at the cinema again when the special editions came out.
So, talking about that, special editions, are you a fan of them? Yes or no?
Absolutely, yes. I have absolutely zero issues with the special editions. I mean, there's certain scenes I would take out and I wouldn't put in. Perhaps the scene where they're flying into Mos Eisley. It just looks clunky and completely out of. You know, it doesn't look like it's part of the same movie. I'd totally take that out. The original '97 release when Jabba meets Han, that was terrible, but they've kind of corrected that now in you know, further releases along the line, so I'm happy with that now. But all in all, I mean, things like on Bespin, where, you know, you see they put windows in, and you know, the first Death Star battle, and you know, little cleanups, like then they got rid of the matte lines around all of the ships in space, like the TIE fighters, you know, and the X-Wings. When you see them in space, they got rid of the square matte lines that you used to see.
Did they do that for Return of the Jedi as well?
They did, but you can still see them to a slight extent. But if you go back and watch an original version on the DVD and then watch the special edition, they've vastly improved it. So yeah, I'm a big fan. You know, there's certain things like, you know, the ending to Return of the Jedi. I think Yub Nub, I think it was, wasn't it? The song, the original song. I think that's been replaced by a much better sort of tune, in my opinion. You know, you have to say that these days.
That's not bad bit of music, but for the purists, it's got to be Yub Nub, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. You know, and I understand why Laptinek in Jabba's palace. You know, I'd probably stick with Laptinek rather than I don't even know what the new one's called. To be honest with you,
Jedi Rocking It or something like that.
Jedi Rock, that's it. Yeah. But Laptinek was a much better tune. But I think episode 1 to episode 6, that music really brings the saga to a fantastic end. And I think the inclusion of Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker, and I know this is quite controversial, but I think putting him in as Anakin Skywalker rather than Sebastian Shaw kind of brings the saga to a close perfectly. We won't talk about anything else that might happen afterwards, but but yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of special editions. If they hadn't happened, would I be bothered? Probably not. But you know, I'm not one of these fanboys that goes around screaming about it.
My opinion on special editions is, yes, I mean, after Jurassic Park, the technology was there, wasn't it, to do the films that he wanted to do, so he could then go back and play with the stuff that he wanted to do, because he was never happy with the cantina scene, was he?
No,
because he couldn't do what he wanted to do. But I would have felt it would have been more beneficial to go back and clean the films up, and to get rid of those matte lines, to clean all 3 films up, not so much to add bits in. You know, the bit with the Jabba scene in Star Wars, for me, that just seemed like a waste of time doing that. Simply for the simple fact is, Han had the same conversation with Greedo in the cantina, and then you're going back and you're having this, and you're going forward rather, and you're having the same conversation with Jabba. And the bit where he walks around the back of him and treads on his tail and walks up over it, I just thought that, I was like, wow. You know, when I saw that in the pictures, I was like, oh, you know.
I can't disagree with you, Stu. I mean, I think you're absolutely right. That scene is absolutely has no point whatsoever. Sorry, I just had a black screen there. You know, there was no real need to put it in. I just think I don't know. In '97, it was really weird. I was at university, and I was still loving Star Wars, but they sparked something new in me that I hadn't felt for 10 years or so, and it was
Yeah.
from those movies that I was back, if that makes sense. I was back with Star
Yeah.
Wars, and I always
Yeah.
have fond memories of that time. And you know what they say, rose tinted glasses and everything.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But I think it would be nice, for it's fair for people who prefer the original cuts of the films to be able to watch those in a high def,
Oh, yeah,
quality.
absolutely. And I'm surprised they've not done that, to be honest with you.
Well, I did read, and who knows if this is true or not, but I did read that part of the contract when George Lucas sold it to Disney, he stipulated that those were his, what's the word?
Okay.
His versions of the films, and he didn't want
Yeah.
the previous versions. And I don't think until upon his death Disney can do anything about that. They're his versions, and they have to be the versions that they present. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but it's just something I read once, and that makes sense because George is quite funny about that sort of thing, isn't he?
He is, yeah. He's very particular. So moving on, I've got a rough idea what the answer to this question is going to be. I'm going to ask it anyway. What was your favourite toy line as a kid, and why?
Well, Star Wars. I mean, let's not beat around the bush. Shocker. Star Wars means so much to me. Obviously I have a real life. We all have responsibilities. We have mortgages to pay. We have jobs to do. We have wives. All this stuff. But Star Wars is my escapism. Star Wars. It honestly just means everything to me, and I'm always chasing that nostalgic feeling that I had when I was a kid. And I think when I was a kid, and it's something I don't think, I don't have kids, but I it's something that I know of a lot of friends who do have kids, and they always say to me, oh, they don't play with toys anymore. They just sit on their devices, their iPads or their tablet, or their phones. And speaking for myself, I would take my Star Wars figures. It didn't matter where it was. I would take them off, and I would create a new adventure, or I'd replicate an adventure from the movies, and I'd use my imagination, and I'd lose myself in that imagination. And as an adult, now I look back on those times with such fond memories.
Absolutely.
And that's that. I mean, Star Wars means a lot to me. So I'd say the nostalgia, and the imagination that as a child is, pretty much stead me in good. It's given me good stead into adulthood. To be quite honest with you, I'll sometimes sit in this room and I'll daydream, about adventures and stuff, not fan fiction or something. I've not got the patience for that sort of thing, but stuff, where Star Wars could go if they did this series, or what Star Wars movie could they do, with this character. It is really, really important to me, Star Wars, and I'm sure we'll get onto it, but the vintage collection is just full of nostalgia, hence its name, I guess. But it does. Star Wars means a lot to me in a lot of ways. Sorry, warbling on.
No. Honestly, no, it's all good. I think you hit the nail on the head there with quite a few points. The nostalgia, the looking back at the memories you had as a kid when you were growing up, and you using your imagination. You actually got to play, physically play with your toys and stuff like that. And you just used to, I can remember as a kid, I used to set up a game in my room, and that game would then escalate into the hallway upstairs and stuff like that. And I would leave it there, especially in the holidays. I'd just leave the stuff there, or if I had to put it away, I put it away. But I remember where I put everything, and I had had everything left, and then I go back to it, and it was just the using your imagination and your imagination. So my game would last like 3 or 4 days, and then on top of that, I'd go around a friend's house, and we'd go in his garden. I'd take my stuff up to his place, and we'd just have big battles, whether it be, Star Wars, G.I. Joe, whatever. But you don't get that much these days, do you? Even walking into a shop and seeing the toy stores and the aisles just full of the Star Wars packaging, the Joe packaging, Transformers, He-Man, whatever it be. Do you know what I mean? It just you don't get that when you walk into a toy store these days.
No,
I don't feel.
No, I couldn't agree more. And I think Hasbro and other companies have cottoned onto the fact, well, they've cottoned onto it for a long time now, but you notice how every toy line from the 80s now has a vintage collection of its own, sitting in the, well, I say sitting in the toy aisle as if you can never find any of them, but
online,
but I mean, you're right. I just, when it snowed, all the Hoth figures would come out, and you'd go outside in the garden and you'd recreate the Battle of Hoth or a new adventure in Hoth. And I didn't come from a particularly wealthy family, so I never had a vehicle my entire childhood, not a single vehicle. And I always dreamed of having an AT-AT or a Scout Walker, or just something like that I could have to play in the snow with, just to recreate the scenes. And and again, that leads to being an adult. I think when you have some disposable income, you kind of want to recreate the things that you had as a child, and also get the things that you didn't have.
I know all about that. Definitely. Wowzers. I mean, it's so talking of play, when did you stop playing with your toys and become a collector?
It's difficult to say. I mean, I think when Star Wars kind of finished around about 85, it didn't finish, but it kind of sort of lost its forward momentum, I should say. So as I say, my family didn't have a lot of money, so I tended to use my Star Wars figures as GI Joes or Action Force, or I'd when I recreate something from a film, I'd use my Star Wars figures. And it was kind of around about when I started secondary school, I think, that stopped. So what, I'd have been 11 years old, and a lot of these things went in a cupboard up in a loft, and they'd get an airing every now and again just to sort of have a look at them. But I think about 11 I stopped playing with my toys. And then you go through secondary school and then college, and I went to university in Southampton, and I think it was in 97 when the special editions came out. That I think I'd picked up Star Wars things, from time to time. I picked up some autographs, I think, by then. I'd been to a Star Wars convention in Cheshunt, just outside London, in 95, and they had Kenneth Colley there. And
so where did you say Cheshunt?
Cheshunt.
Oh, Cheshunt, sorry.
Yes, in Essex, I think. And they had a lot of Warwick Davis was there, and Jeremy Bulloch was there. There was lots of secondary character actors, and I got their autographs, but I still wasn't really collecting anything. And then the special editions came out, and again, I don't know if you remember this, but Walker's Crisps did something called Tazos, and there was a little album, and they had these little circular Tazos that I don't honestly to this day know what they're actually for, but they were little discs, and they had pictures of scenes from all three of the original trilogy movies, and then they had a page at the back of the album that you got that had scenes from the actual special edition scenes. And of course, you'd have to get about 850 packets of Walker's Crisps in order to find all of the Tazos that you needed. It got to the point where I was going into shops and sort of pressing the bags down like that, trying to find out if they had a Tazo inside, because I was sick to death of eating crisps, that I just wanted to buy the crisps, open the packet, empty the crisps, and get the Tazo. And so that was probably the first thing I started to collect. So what, I'd been about 18, I suppose. And then obviously the Phantom Menace came out, and to quote a line, that's where the fun begins, because I was in then. I was back on track. I didn't do the what was it called, Midnight Madness. I didn't do any of that, but as I'm sure you're aware, that stuff was everywhere. It was absolutely saturated. So you could pick it up everywhere. And so I picked out, I didn't buy a lot, I just picked a few characters out, Darth Maul, Qui-Gon Jinn, favorite character, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Darth Sidious, etc. So I picked a few of those out, and then episode 2 came out, and once again I picked a few of those out. I didn't go mad. And the same with episode 3 actually as well. I bought a few figures, so I was starting to get a burgeoning collection by 2005. It wasn't huge by any stretch of the imagination. And then I kind of went on another hiatus, and I didn't collect anything for a while. And then I met my wife, and you know, I can't say enough about her, because she basically encouraged me. I know you can't believe it. She encouraged me to actually, you know, we were at Hollywood Studios on holiday in Florida, and there was a Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight on a vintage card. And I think it's VC 20 something. I can't remember exactly.
Okay.
And
yeah.
I saw that. I was like, oh my god, they've started to bring out, you know, for old Kenner vintage cards, but with modern figures. I had no idea at this point that they were doing this. And I said, I was telling my wife about, you know, these were from 1978 to 1985, you know. And she was like, oh right, okay, great. So why don't you get it? And I was like, I said to her, you do realize that if I get this is going to start something, because I'm a completionist. So I bought the figure, and that was it. The vintage collection was, you know, that was it for me. I was going to get every single vintage collection, and from 2010, I think it was, to 2012, I got every single vintage collection figure card back you could get, including VC 66, 67, Salacious Crumb, and the Mouse Droid.
And the Mouse Droid.
Yeah. So I had them all. Sorry, am I rambling on? Do you want me to like continue this all the way up to now, or well, basically, we're 2012 hit. And we just got married, so we decided to move house, and I made the absolute catastrophic decision that, well, we're moving house and we need the money, so I sold my entire collection, VC1 to VC.
Wait, what? Your vintage collection?
Yeah, my entire vintage collection, from VC1 up to VC18 or 20 or 19, or I can't remember what it went up to now, including all of the, you know, exclusive ones, the rocket firing Boba Fett and the prototype Boba Fett, you know, all of those. They sold them all for what I sold it for back then. You know, people would be crying if they knew how much it was.
Fine.
I sold it for.
That you sold it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, yeah. So I sold it all because, you know, we needed the money. You know, we were moving house. Yeah. You know, I'm a sensible guy like that. But don't get me wrong, I still had other stuff, but that was my bulk thing that I was collecting. So we moved house, and the Black Series came out, and we had a spare room. So I then immediately, as soon as the Black Series started, I collected all of the orange ones, the blue ones. You know, I collected those for a couple of years, and then I started getting into the Ultimate Collector Series Lego. So I bought about 15 Ultimate Collector Series Lego sets, right up to the recent Millennium Falcon. I had that one. So I had a Star Wars room that was absolutely jam-packed to the rafters. I couldn't actually fit in there myself. And once again, we moved house, and I sold all my Ultimate Collector Series. I sold every single one of my Black Series figures. And we moved to this new house, and this room, which is the biggest, you know, Star Wars room I've had as of yet. It's quite small, but it's big enough. And I always, as I'm sure you're thinking right now, regretted selling my vintage collection, because that was the stuff that reminded me of being a kid. You know, those were the card backs that I opened up on Christmas morning in 1984 and 1985, and you know, and so on. And those were the figures I played with. So I always regretted it. So I said to myself, right, I'm going to really go for it, and I'm going to recollect the vintage collection all over again from scratch. And I set myself the rule that I wasn't allowed to buy any of the vintage collection 2.0 figures. I had to buy the 1.0. You know, they've re-released a lot of the 2.0. So I said, no, I must have the 1.0s. So finally, you know, I think as we speak now, I've recollected all of the vintage collection a second time. So yeah, look, sorry, that was a really long answer and a bit of a history there. But
I mean, for the love of God, please just don't move again.
Yeah, no.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, you know, thing is, you know, I will never sell this now because I've invested too much in this. Because obviously, you know, I was paying retail prices the first time around. I certainly wasn't paying retail prices this time. And you know, this is it now. I've set myself. I've always been a bit over there, you know, Black Series, Lego, you know, vintage collection, you know, vintage Kenner, everything.
Yeah.
But I've set myself, you know, one thing that I'm collecting, and that's the vintage collection. So, you know, I think if I, as I say, I'm a completionist. So if I start anything, I have to get it all. And
so you've got your VC 66 and 67 back as well, then?
Well, I know there's a question coming up that you're going to ask me in a while, so I've saved those.
The thing is, I chop and change the questions, so I'm just I don't have that question in your list of questions.
Oh,
so
you don't? Oh, well, I can answer it. Bonus question then. Yes, there are two figures that I don't own, which are VC66 and VC67, which is the Mouse Droid and Slature's Crumb.
Yeah.
I can't imagine I'll be owning those anytime soon, looking at what they're going for on eBay at the moment. I think the action figure grader, John was saying that a couple went for, I think it was £1,600 each the other day. And, you know, it's just, you know, that's just silly money. And even if I could afford it.
Yeah. But then the thing is, people pay it, though. That's the thing, Martyn. People pay it.
They do.
You know.
But yeah,
wow.
so
that's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. It's too much money. Yeah.
Figures aren't the only things you collect, though, is it? Because I spied a video that you did with Adam the other week, and you had a lot of this stuff.
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
I have several boxes in the garage and in the loft, and when I say several, I mean 20 of things I've picked up over the years, and they've just gone in boxes. And we're doing a series on our channel at the moment. Sorry to advertise, but you know, where I'm going through these boxes, and you know, Adam's sort of asking me about certain items, and it's absolute revelation. Some of the stuff that I've completely forgotten that I had. Some really nice pieces as well. But yeah, I've accumulated, like I'm sure you have, Stu. You know, I think all Star Wars collectors do this. They see something and go, oh yeah, that's quite good. Yeah, I'll get that. And they bring it home and they don't really know what to do with it, so it goes in the box.
But that's most of my collection at the moment.
Yeah.
I can see there's a Return of the Jedi annual there with Luke and the green lightsaber.
Yes,
he's in his Jedi, and I mean, I remember that vividly as a kid because one of my aunties bought that for me for Christmas. So I remember that for sure. And I've got, is it a Spyro droid down there as well?
Yeah, the BB-8. Yeah, BB-8.
Yeah.
His head seems to be missing.
What else you got? So there's that. There's some fantastic stuff. It's just crazy, isn't it? You know, the stuff that you pick up and accumulate.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, I wouldn't throw any of it out. I mean, there's popcorn bucket from the Rogue One opening night, you know, in there, and you know, and there's sippers, you know, with BB-8 on the straw from The Force Awakens when I went to cinema to see that. You know, if there's something like that, I can't help myself. I kind of, you know, I could get a normal Coke, you know, in a normal tub, but no, I've got to get the themed one. So I
was going to say, you also showed these as well, which also a blast from the past, because I used to collect these too.
Yeah,
Hamilton, I had the vehicle ones. I had the Millennium Falcon and stuff like that. Again, was this Hamilton or Danbury?
I think it was Hamilton. These ones.
Hamilton, that's it.
Yeah.
Wow.
These were. I really like these, but as Adam and I discussed, you know, I think they're a bit dated to have on a wall these days. But I've had a lot of people since we did that video. I said, "What are you talking about? Don't be crazy. Stick them up. You know, get some plate stands because apparently these are hand painted. Whether that's true or not, that's what it says in the bump that comes with them. They're hand painted. They look really good to be hand painted, but you know, the artwork on them is fantastic. So maybe I should put them out. But yeah, these were something that I got.
I mean, I remember having those as well because I used to send off them. And I think it used to be £15 a month or something like that I'd send off because you used to get little coupons in the newspaper or magazine. I used to sit and I used to write that out, fill it out, send it off. Then it would come through. Then I'd have to send a check through every month for 15 or however much it was for like 4 months or something like that just to pay it off.
That's right.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had the Millennium Falcon one as well, but unfortunately that fell off the wall and broke. But yeah, no, they did quite a vast array of different designs, didn't they?
Well, they did. I mean, I used to collect the Star Trek ones as well. Sorry, Star Wars fans, but I did like Star Trek as well. But
I tell you what, if I wasn't a completionist, then you'd see a lot of Star Trek stuff behind me, because I love Star Trek as well. I love all these franchises, Lord of the Rings. I love them all, but in terms of collecting, I have to just keep it to one thing, because otherwise I'm a nightmare. Yeah.
So you go back to your wife. You said she encourages you. Does she still encourage you now, or is she like, oh my god?
Oh no, you know what? If I see something, and on the very rare occasion that I'll see something on eBay in an auction, and it doesn't look like it's going to go for too much money, or I'll contact the seller privately on email, on Messenger, and say, is there a deal we could be done off eBay? Hope eBay aren't listening. I'll and they say, well, I'll do it for this or something. I'll always discuss it with my wife, because I'm not, at the end of the day, I just discuss everything with her. So I always say to her, oh, look at this deal, and she's like, she'll say, right, well, can you afford it? Is it something that's gonna, be prized part of your collection, and not something that's probably just gonna gather dust? And if that's the case, then yeah, I'll absolutely be, she'll be very supportive of me getting it. Because as I said to you earlier, I'm not stupid. I'm not not sensible. If I won't buy something if I think, oh, in a month's time I'm going to regret that, because I'm not going to be able to pay the bills, sort of thing. But I have got a bit addicted to my credit card, to be fair, but at the same time, I always make sure it's paid off before I use it again. So she's absolutely fantastic, my wife. She's very supportive of my Star Wars fandom, and to be quite honest with you, I introduced her to she'd watched Star Wars, obviously, who hasn't. I introduced her to the Clone Wars. We literally just got together as the Clone Wars came out, and she is an absolutely massive fan of the Clone Wars now. She rewatches the Clone Wars on a regular basis.
Great.
I love the Clone Wars. I can't get enough of the Clone Wars. But yeah. So in a way, maybe I've had a bit of an influence on her. So yeah, no, she's fantastic.
Awesome.
Really,
I'm
my collecting.
in the same boat, really. I mean, Georgie's very, very supportive, and I to be fair, I don't tell her everything that I buy. I just love the look of surprise on her face when stuff turns up. Like the sale buy. I mean, I'll never forget that day when it was because I always used, because I do like different shift patterns and stuff like that. So I still used to get my stuff from eBay sent to my parents' house. And I went round my mum and dad's one day, and Georgie come and pick me up, and there's like boxes and there's this big ass box, and Georgie just looked and was like, what the hell is that? And my dad was like, what is that? What is that? Sort of thing. And it was huge. So we sits down in the car and stuff like that, and then we put it in the boot, and then drove home, and it was like, you all right? Yeah, good. We get upstairs, and she's, bless her, she's laid down next to the box. We're taking a photograph of the scale and stuff like that. But yeah, but then to be fair, she did say to me, if you see something and you like it, buy it, because you never know when you're going to see it again.
Sure.
The trouble is with that stage, like quite a bit of stuff, and that's the issue. I wish I was more controlled and just focused on one thing, but I'm into all sorts of bits and bobs. So
you hit the nail on the head. Exactly. Steph has learned over the years that if I've missed out on something, I get a bit down about it because I didn't pull the trigger. So she always says to me, if you don't get it now, are you going to be able to get it in the future? And if the answer is no, then more times than not, if I can afford it, she'll say, pull the trigger, because you'll only regret it and you won't be able to get it again. So she's exactly the same.
I mean, for me, I mean, the thing is, what gets me is I used to pounce when stuff was released. We used to, because obviously the pre-orders, I used to jump on there, make sure I got it, because I knew that if I didn't get it, it would either sell out and I wasn't going to get it again, or if I was to get it again, I'd be paying double the price or more on the secondary market. And I've over the last years, especially, I've learned not to do that. I've learned not to jump in, because you buy it and then you're paying a certain price for it, but then later on you'll see it on the same website that you've got it from, or the same online store, and it's been reduced in price, and you're thinking, just wait a few. Do you know what I mean? It's but. And it's the same with the stores now, because HMV is selling stuff, Games selling stuff.
a game. You can get some bargains in game these days.
Absolutely,
It's crazy.
yeah.
I mean, BOE. I mean, as soon as a BOE video comes up of what he's bought on a game, I'm literally in the car because he seems to pick up everything that's cheap down there. And if there's something that he's picked up that I like the look of, so I think right, they're available.
Good old BOE.
Yeah.
Right, you're talking about Clone Wars. So I've got this picture here. How cool is that? Dave Filoni. Yeah. Where did you get to meet Dave Filoni?
Well, I actually met him twice. I've met him at Celebration Europe, Germany, and this was in 2016 in London. And I was very lucky to get VIP Jedi Master tickets for both of the celebrations. And with that was included a meet and greet with Dave Filoni, and he signed some of his personal artwork. And so basically he drew Darth Vader in front of me and then signed that picture. And you know, we the first time I met him in 2016, we stood chatting for ages. He's got plenty of time for everybody, and we were talking about Game of Thrones, and it was season 2 maybe at that point, and we were both saying how much we loved it. It was awesome. And then when I met him this time in 2016, obviously Game of Thrones was starting to go down a little bit, and we were both there bemoaning about how bad Game of Thrones had got recently, and you know, it was quite funny. But yeah, he's such a cool guy.
He's
that was
done
really
a fantastic job with Clone Wars, isn't he? And I mean, he's you know, Bad Batch as well. I mean, the animation I think is really cool. I've got to say, Rebels, I wasn't too sure of to start with, just because the totally different look of the animation. I get that it was all basically based on Ralph McQuire's concept art with Vader, the TIE fighters, the certain look of things. I appreciate that. But I think it was so used to seeing the Clone Wars, and then they stopped halfway through season 6, didn't they? They didn't quite complete that, which was a shame.
Yeah. Because
I think Disney had bought them out at the time, hadn't they? They'd taken over.
Yeah, I mean, the Clone Wars, I mean, first and foremost, I love the prequels. The original trilogy always be my favorite, but the Clone Wars, but the prequel trilogy, sorry, is a close second. I love the prequels, and I know, you know, they have their issues. I'm not blind to those issues, but they're George Lucas Star Wars, and I think they're absolutely fantastic. And the story he's trying to tell there is quite an intricate one if you look at it quite deeply, but you know, a lot of people watch those films and they sort of, you know, they don't concentrate on the actual story he's trying to tell, but that's another story. But I think the Clone Wars for me is a great gateway for people who aren't sure about the prequels, because it gives you so much more depth about what he was trying to achieve in the prequels, and it gives you so much more character development. And not only in the prequels but also in the original trilogy, there's stuff in there you know, that informs things that happen in the original trilogy that, you know, you didn't know you wanted to know, but you find out through the Clone Wars. So you know, I think specifically of, you know, how Qui-Gon's able to come back as a Force ghost, he wasn't supposed to come back as a Force ghost, but Obi-Wan Kenobi kind of retroactively changed that. But yeah, you know, how he learned the power and how he passed that on to Yoda, and then Yoda passed it on to Obi-Wan, and so on and so forth. So, you know, that was all explained in the Clone Wars. So if we hadn't had the Clone Wars, that would have remained a mystery. And I understand a lot of people say, well, it's nice to have mystery, you know, but you know, I really love the mysticism of Star Wars, and you know, the Force, and you know, that's the part I love about it more than anything. So having that kind of depth and you know, is absolutely fantastic, and the Clone Wars is full of that. But then again, saying that, it does have its pretty terrible episodes as well. I'm not going to say all of it's great. There's a couple of really bad episodes, but for the most part, yeah, I really enjoyed the Clone Wars.
I mean, for me, Clone Wars has certainly made me appreciate the prequels a lot more, as have the sequels. But you know, I would never have dreamed of getting any of the Republic gunships or shuttle or the is it the ET or TE or whatever it's, you know, I've just got loads of stuff now from the prequels and the Clone Wars, and I just think it looks absolutely fantastic. You know, so I've got and that's all to do with the Clone Wars. I mean, I loved watching those series, and it was one of those series where I couldn't wait to get home and watch the next episode and what's going to happen and stuff like that. And when they started getting the story arcs going, as in like they would start a story arc and then they'd finish it within the next 3 or 4 episodes back to back, as opposed to was it the first 2 seasons they started a story arc, then they went off track and just started something else, and then it come back to it.
Yeah, they didn't do it in chronological order, did they? It was all over the place. But yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, it started for me. There's an episode in season 2 called "Landing at Point Rain" where they go back to Geonosis, and it's just, I mean, you know, okay, the animation's not as good as it was towards the end of the Clone Wars, but I mean, the camera work and the action in that episode, it's, you know, it's just as good as anything you'd see in the cinema. It's absolutely fantastic. So from that point, for me, you know, that's when the Clone Wars really kicked up a gear. And as soon as Ahsoka stopped being that little whiny kid, now Ahsoka is probably in my top 3 to 5 favorite characters in all of Star Wars. I absolutely think she's an absolutely fantastic character. So
yeah, she certainly was one of those that kind of like grew on people. And I mean, as well, you had more in-depth stories revolving Count Dooku and stuff like that, and so you got more to see more of him in action, and more of a story, like a backstory to him as well, especially now with what's it called, Tales of the Jedi. You know, you see that transition.
That was great.
I thought that was superb, and it's just it just grates me that they don't put these on for, like, you know, half an hour, 45-minute cartoon sort of thing. It's just like very short snippet kind of cartoons, which is a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame. I think it's got to do with expense though, because the animation they use is close to the sort of thing you'd see in a cinematic movie. You know, so I think they have to make them 20 minutes to try and keep costs down, but you know, what I'd really love them to do is they'd release them as like all the 3-part and 4-part arcs from Clone Wars and Tales of the Jedi, is actually release them as movies, if that makes sense. So join them all together.
I get what you mean.
How cool would that be? Because I mean, back in the day when Blu-rays and DVDs were a thing, you know, that's something they probably would have done.
Well, they did it with Star Trek, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yes, on the VHS tapes. I remember those.
And then they put them together like that Picard one where he turns to Locutus a Borg. You know, that was like a, you know. So
worlds,
I mean, that's a great idea. You know, I'd certainly be up for that.
Yeah.
Well, we'll just watch it on Disney Plus, one of the two.
Yeah. I just think, you know, when you watch it as if you could watch the sort of a 60, 70-minute Clone Wars mini movie without any breaks in the middle, and the you know, and the monologue they do at the beginning, it would be really nice sort of thing to be able to sit and watch. But you know, they're not going to do that.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
Do you have a sentimental piece in your collection or a most prized piece in your collection?
I have. Oh, can I have more than one?
If you know,
it's difficult. I've got.
You can have one sentimental piece and then one prized piece. How's that?
Okay. Well, okay. My prized piece would probably be. I've got. Oh God, it's really difficult to pick between the two, but I'm gonna have to go for it. Okay. I was going to pick my Canadian Yoda that I picked up, which is quite a rare vintage collection figure, but I'm not going to go for that. I'm going to go for. I have a signed picture of with artwork that Dave Filoni's done, which he's signed. But he's also hand drawn Ahsoka on it for me.
Oh wow!
And for me, that is, you know, Ahsoka's, as I say, one of my favorite characters. And you know, Dave Filoni, I think, you know, learning under George Lucas is the great hope we have for, you know, Disney Star Wars coming forward. And I can't wait for the Ahsoka series. I just hope it's good. So not to pick a toy, I'm afraid, but I think that would be my.
Look, it doesn't matter if it's a toy or signing or whatever. It's whatever's means to you. You know, means the most to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's the artwork itself is from the Siege of Mandalore arc they did in season 7. When Disney did the season 7, the Clone Wars. Originally, Ahsoka was meant to ride a wolf or a wolf type creature in that episode, and Dave Filoni drew that artwork when George still owned the company, and then they printed this artwork, and then he signed that. And then obviously, as I say, drew the picture of Ahsoka, and it's such a great piece, you know. It's sort of, I mean, that's that's probably going to be my prized possession. It's not the most valuable, but it's my most prized. In terms of sentimental, again, this is an item, but it's also a signature. I managed to pick up a 1980s original movie Empire Strikes Back poster, and it was signed just underneath by George Lucas, Erwin Kershner, and Gary Kurtz, the producer.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, that's the sort of thing that, you know, Empire Strikes Back is my favorite Star Wars movie. George Lucas is the guy that, you know, is responsible for all this. And Irving Kershner has probably been the best director of Star Wars through all 9 of the movies so far, or the saga movies anyway. So it really holds, you know, a lot of sentimental value to me, because as I said to you right at the beginning of this, Empire Strikes Back was the film I watched over and over and over and over and over again, just like a lot of people, I'm sure. So they'd be my 2 picks. And I'm sorry to be awkward.
No, not at all. Listen, it's good because it's nice to have people like, you know, just pick different things. We can't all pick the same thing, you know. So it's, I mean,
I do love a lot of these things behind me. You know, I've got a lot of Ken loose graded stuff that I've just started collecting, and you know, there's a couple of things in there that, you know, are absolutely superbly special to me. But you know, I think if you pushed me, those are the 2.
Oh, awesome stuff. No, that's fine. It's good to have different bits and bobs. It really is. What made you start a YouTube channel, and who were your influences?
Well, my cousin Adam, who does the YouTube channel with me, it's also a podcast. I always forget to mention that, but yeah, we basically had been chatting over the pandemic for years and years and years. You know, something would come on and he'd send me a question, and I'd send him a 65-line diatribe of an answer. and he just said to me one day, as the pandemic finished, you know, we should do a podcast, because you know, you've got so much knowledge about Star Wars. You know, it'd be great to just talk about it all the time, and I can come up with questions. And I was like, I'm not really feel I'd be that confident, that sort of thing. And he said, no, go on, it'll be good. And he's totally responsible for it, in a good way. So yeah,
and he's not even able to defend himself, is he? Because he couldn't make it tonight. Could he?
No, he couldn't make it. No. Adam's just Adam's lovely wife's just given birth to their first daughter.
Congratulations,
so, congratulations, awesome, Adam. So he's taken a bit of time off, but I mean, he set everything up. He basically sorted everything out. I didn't have to do a thing. He just said, right, turn up at this time on your PC, and very quickly it went from a podcast to a YouTube channel, and we started off, you know, Obi-Wan was coming out. In fact, yesterday was our 1-year anniversary. We started the channel.
Oh wow, well done, congratulations.
Thank you, double congratulations. So we recorded like a review show of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you know, that's where it started from, and really enjoyed doing it. You know, it was nice having the 3 views that we got every week. It was but that didn't matter to us. It was the fact that him and I got to see each other face to face, and we got to talk about Star Wars, and that's pretty much the crux of why we started the YouTube channel, just so that 2 guys, 2 family members, 2 friends could just talk Star Wars.
Obviously with the name Long.
The name long time ago, obviously it's a play on, you know, a long time ago. In retrospect, the fact that we've had to explain to pretty much everybody that both of our surnames are Long, and that's why it's called A Long Time Ago, it works really well, the title. But the fact that you have to explain it to everybody, you know, when they say, why did you call that? Of course, it's not obvious, is it? Because not everyone knows our name's Long, so we don't introduce ourselves as I'm Martyn Long and I'm Adam Long. So
well, you know, it's
but it's too late now. We were talking about it last night, the 2 of us, and it's too late now. But you know, it's fine.
I think it works. It works. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. I saw your video that you did when you went to Echo Live at the beginning of the year, and I loved what you guys did there when you were going around and trying to find something to buy for each other. I just thought that was terrific.
Well,
awesome.
originally the channel was just going to be talking Star Wars, and we never really had a direction for the channel. We just were going to talk Star Wars, you know. We didn't really think about subscribers and thumbs up and stuff like that. But you know, we just thought to ourselves, well, we're doing this, and then we're doing that, and we're going all over the place. And then we just thought, well, hang a minute, look what's behind me. You know, we should perhaps start talking about collecting, and that led to not only talking about what we were collecting, but doing sort of things about collecting. So Echo Base came up. I'd never been before, unbelievably. I'd obviously seen it advertised, but I'd never been.
Yeah.
And we went, and we always tried when we go to these things, you know, to try and make it a little bit different than the normal video of walking around the event, you know, and just showing the tables. You know, we tried to have a bit of a laugh, and that's probably our most popular video actually on the channel. But
I like the idea of that. I thought that was really good.
And it was a great event. I can't wait to go to the next one.
I enjoyed it. I mean, I went up there when the same time as you, the same one, and just met up with different people, met them for the first time, which was it was good, really enjoyable, really. Are you
going to the next one in October?
Well, that's the thing. We don't know whether we're going to be going to that. We're definitely going to go to the NEC Toy Fair, which is the week before. Okay. So I don't know whether we're going to be going up to, quite possibly. Who knows? But I know that I won't be getting up there for early bird this time around. It'll just be, going at when everybody else goes in.
It'll be great to meet you if you make it up there.
Oh well, we're going then. I'll tell them we're going.
Oh, I swung the pendulum. There we go.
Right, yeah, it doesn't take much to get twisted. I can tell you that. What I find interesting as well is you do a talk called Talking Star Wars, and I actually do a live every now and again called Talking Star Wars.
I swear to God, we didn't realise that you had a show.
No, neither did I. So it's not afraid. It just made me chuckle. But I don't worry about it. I mean, is yours pre-recorded, I guess, or?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Everything of ours is pre-recorded. We're far too amateurish to do anything on live. To do anything live. I mean, I think we went on the ZSR live stream one week, and that was nerve-wracking. That was nerve-wracking, but we had such a good time. It gave us a lot of confidence, and it's through people like Tez, Matt, and Shabby, and yourself, and BOE.
Yeah, they just make you feel welcome, don't they? They make you feel comfortable.
Oh yeah, it was absolutely brilliant, and the support you guys have all given us in the community it's incredible. I mean, I didn't expect any of this, and you guys are all so supportive, and you've given us so much love. Even if we didn't deserve it, it's absolutely fantastic, and I feel like although we haven't met any of you in person, we've all made really good friends. It's really, really fantastic. So if anything was to come of this channel, I think that would be the biggest takeaway, in my opinion, and I'm sure Adam would agree with me.
Well, I mean, it's just like I mean, I've not been doing this too long at all. I mean, I started last March, and I know a few people in the toy community anyway. Chris Miwa, Bob Hanson, Scuba Pete. I'd watched Tim from Bosk's Bounty, watched his channel, and Only One, and a few of the others. But then when I went to Celebration, we actually got to meet these people. We met a few people at Echo as well, and I've met a few people down at Sandown, like BOE and stuff like that. But then to get to meet all these people, we just hang out, not be in each other's pockets. We just, sat around a Costa, got the tables, just stayed there, then just went off and come back as we went, as and when we pleased. And it was just, and I've said loads of times before, and I'm apologising for repeating myself, but it enhanced the experience when you're meeting up with fellow-minded people. I mean, they're all fellow-minded people. Otherwise, none of us would be there, would we? But to actually, people that you chat to on a regular basis through the internet, through our channels and stuff like that, to actually meet them face-to-face and have a face-to-face conversation, have a meal with them, have a laugh and stuff like that. It was incredible, absolutely incredible. So, I'm sure you will find that, feel the same way if you meet people up at Echo, because people know who you are now. So it's just it's good. It's great, because I mean, you were there, and did you meet Tim? Did you know anybody up there?
You know what? We saw Tim, and I've been watching Bosk's Bounty like everybody for a very long time, because he concentrates on the thing that I love, the vintage collection. And I saw him from a distance, and I just didn't want to be that guy, that goes over and says, "Oh, hi, I'm Martyn. I watch your show." I just wanted to leave him because he was obviously shopping and stuff, and I didn't want to disturb him. I'm sure everybody is told. Matt said to me, he said, "Oh, he wouldn't have minded. Just go over and say hello." But maybe this time if everybody's there, I'll go over and say hello. But I was a bit nervous to sort of, well, not nervous, that's not the right word, but I just didn't want to disturb him because he was obviously busy having a look round and stuff. But I haven't met Only One Kenobi yet, and I watch his stuff all the time, and I've obviously spoken to people through YouTube and on other live streams, but haven't met anybody in person yet. So I'm really looking forward to doing so, because as you quite rightly said, I think when you go to conventions when you're a bit younger, it's all about the panels and rushing here and doing that. But when you get to a man in his early to mid 40s, you kind of just want to chill out, hang out with friends, and talk about the things you're interested in with them, and it's more of a social event.
We went to 2016. We went to Celebration in 2016, and we didn't know anybody. Just me and Georgie. We went round. Yeah. We had a great time. We enjoyed seeing what we did. We went to see people as like celebrities and stuff like that. We got autographs. We went. That's what we went there for. Yeah. This time around, it was just a whole new experience, and for me, meeting everybody and just chilling with people, it just enhanced it, because it was like, it was really cool, really an enjoyable time. Right, it's come to the hour. I've got 2 more questions for you. So
sorry,
I'm going away. No, please don't apologise. It's absolutely awesome talking to you, mate. It really is. What gives you that toy collecting buzz?
Oh, okay. There's 2 things. There's one is I get home from work, and without knowing, a pre-order has arrived, and there's just a box sat in the kitchen, and I walk into the kitchen and I'm getting the scissors out, and I'm like, oh, I can't remember what I pre-ordered or what is in this, and I know it's obviously going to be Star Wars, and I know it's something that I've ordered, but it's just not knowing, because we're so behind, aren't we, with pre-orders these days. I seem to get my pre-orders about 6 months after everybody else does these days, but yeah, so there's always a bit of a buzz for me when something arrives that I'm not expecting. And the other thing is, because let's be quite frank, you can't go to a toy store these days and have much luck, in this country anyway, of finding anything. So my days of, back in the day, I was like everybody else. I'd be heading to Toys R Us, and I'd go to Forbidden Planet and, the local sci-fi comic store, and, trying in the search of something that I hadn't got, or something I was looking out for. And that gave me the buzz, but that just doesn't really exist in my area anyway anymore. So I've kind of got into this quite dangerous thing now, where I trawl auction sites, and I look. The Vectis auctions, you've probably heard of them, and numerous other auction sites. And while 99% of the time, it's ridiculous what people are paying for stuff, every now and again I pick up some absolute bargains, and some absolute beautiful pieces that I've been after for a long time. So sometimes it wouldn't be past me to actually sit in front of the computer for 2 hours watching the auction, waiting for my lots to come up, and and that thrill you get when you're bidding against somebody online. I'd love to go to one of these actually in person at some point, but bidding online, and then that adrenaline and that feel you get when you've won that bid, and you've underpaid, which is, as I say, very rare, but last year I picked up a few lots, and there were lots of 60 action figures. I say I only click the vintage collection. I might have told a bit of a fib there. I do have pretty much most lines of Star Wars figures actually stored away that I don't display. But if I see them in auctions and they're at a good price, I'll be snatching those up, no problem at all. Probably auctions at the moment is the thing that gives me my collecting buzz, because just sitting there watching it over the weeks prior to the auction, and putting in your maximum bid, and then the auction itself, and then sitting there and your lot comes up, and then going against however many people that's the thing that probably gets my buzz going at the moment for collecting. Because as I say, there's nowhere to go. I don't know if it was like in your area, but there's just nowhere around here you can.
Well, it's pretty much the same. I mean, we had a toy fair the other week we went to. That was okay, but again, like you, we've got like a local game. We've got an HMV, and you go in there, and some of the stuff still in HMV is pretty overpriced. You know, they're selling figures that I think about a year old, and they're still living up 25 quid.
Yeah.
They've not come down.
Yeah.
Game, you get the bargains. But I was going to ask you, what would you prefer to do more? I mean, I know you say that you're liking the buzz at the moment of doing the auctions and stuff like that, and waiting to see whether you won your bids won. Would you prefer to go in store and actually find the bits that you're looking for, or are you quite content now with how things are with the way you're doing things?
No, absolutely not. I would 100% rather go into store and pick up what I'm looking for, because in the auctions, you're only going to find older stuff. You're not going to find anything new. So any new vintage collection stuff, that I'm after. Or, I mean, I might pick up some graded Kenner, sorry, excuse me, from the original 96 that I'm after. But the problem is everybody's after those, and you're going to pay a premium for them. As I said at the beginning, I really miss being able to go into Toys R Us. I mean, I remember when Force Awakens came out, the Toys R Us in Cambridge before it closed down, it had 2 aisles of Star Wars toys in it.
And, where we are, absolutely.
It was absolutely fantastic. So regardless of what I wanted, if there was something I wanted wasn't in there, I'd always be able to pick something up that I'd see. And now, as I say, because Toys R Us is gone, I pretty much only have Forbidden Planet and Game. Game never has any. I don't collect Black Series. I don't collect the retro collection. I'm not a big fan of that. So anything else really, I'd like to collect the Black Series helmets and stuff like that, but just don't have the room. But when it comes to the other stuff, they just don't have it. And Forbidden Planet, they do have it from time to time, but they get a delivery of perhaps 2 per figure. And unless you're in there the day, and also my sister used to work for Forbidden Planet in Cambridge. And she would tell me that the staff would basically purchase the stuff as it came in, Star Wars stuff that they wanted. So basically, there was never anything to go out on the shop floor. So if there was a new wave coming in and there was enough staff on that day, or it got to the point where the staff would buy the vintage collection to take home and then shove it on eBay to sell at scalpers prices. So so that's why I think a lot of these stores now that do still sell it don't have it, because the staff have cottoned on to the fact that they can buy this stuff themselves at a staff discount and then sell it on eBay for an overinflated price.
The swines. If any of you out there watching work in a store and are doing that, stop it. Unbelievable.
I'm not saying everybody does it,
No, not everybody. But if it's you, then don't do it. Unbelievable.
Wow. That's crazy. Yeah.
I might get a job in Forbidden Planet, actually.
Yeah, I wouldn't say no.
Right, I've got one last question for you. What does your collection mean to you?
Just to repeat what I said really at the beginning. I mean, Star Wars in general means a hell of a lot to me, and my collection, everything you see probably behind, has childhood memories, childhood nostalgia. Whether it be the vintage collection card backs to the loose Kenner figures behind me, even the arcade machine I bought is something that I go and spend summers in the arcades playing. Everything that you see is pure nostalgia, pure love for being a kid, being a child. Those times when I sat and played with my toys, and as an adult I get to come in this room and sit in here sometimes on my own and just sit back and just look, sometimes not even think, just look and just remember those great times. And I can't really give you a better answer than that. It's a feeling that you can't articulate sometimes. It's really difficult, but it means a lot to me in my collection, and I wouldn't change it for the world now. I'm stuck to it, and it'll be with me till the day I die.
That's quality. I mean, like I say, everybody answers differently to what their collection means to them, because for me, it's a personal thing, isn't it? Everybody's different. Their collection, how they collect, what they collect, how they display it. It's all very personal. And I go by the saying of there's no right or wrong way to collect. It is purely a personal choice of what you collect and what you like and stuff like that. Now, it's not to say that you don't respect someone if they collect something different from you that you don't collect. You're not going to say around and like poo-poo it and stuff like that. That's why I love doing this series. I see so many different varied collections. Yes, it predominantly will be Star Wars, but it's displayed differently. There's different focuses within Star Wars that are collected, and it's just awesome. And I think as a community, we're a very, very lucky community. We may be a small community, but I think we're quite a tight-knit community for the most part.
Something I've learned over the last few months. I mean, you're never going to meet a nicer bunch of people that I've got to know, and Adam's got to know over the last few months. And that's you, that's ZSR, that's all the other people that I've mentioned over the course of this chat. That you're all a great bunch of guys, and I think the key is you do anything for each other, and it's such a great community. So I've got all the thanks in the world to all of you guys. It's been absolutely great.
No, it's awesome, and it's lovely to have other people in like being welcomed into the community as well. So yourself and Adam. Anyhow, that is it for the chat. We've gone over the hour, but I'm not worried about that. That's fine. But where can people find you on social media? What are your social media platforms?
Well, we're on Twitter and Instagram, and it's at AL and LTA Pod. Mouthful there. Wish we could have changed that, but I believe it's up on the screen now, so that's helpful. Thank you, Stu. That's really helpful. And obviously, we're on YouTube at A Long Time Ago. So if you want to check us out, please do.
Awesome. Yeah, check out the channel. Absolutely fantastic channel. I will leave the descriptions to all of the social media platforms. I'll leave a link to all of the... Right, I'll say that again. I will leave a link to all their social media platforms in the description below. So I'm so excited about talking to you, Martyn. Mate. But yeah, honestly, mate, it's been fantastic chatting to you. Really interesting.
Thank you.
Love having you on the channel. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Thank you so much.
This has been Martyn from A Long Time Ago pod. Absolute pleasure, mate. All I've got left to say is, for those of you watching, thank you so much. Appreciate your support. Take care, stay safe, and we shall see you in the next video. And bye for now. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.